Peace and blessings, and welcome back to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast. This episode is brought to you by heritagehiphop.com. We are more than music as we introduce your future favorite artists to you today as we celebrate God's heritage. And our heritage is hip hop. And if we are God's heritage, then that heritage is hip hop. Follow us on heritagehiphop.com where you get exclusive music, interviews, and more by becoming a member of our movement. So go to heritagehiphop.com and join the family. We're here waiting for you. We're also sponsored by Transparent Credit Repair, the superheroes of the financial literacy and credit repair world. Changing your future only takes 15 seconds. In that 15 seconds, you can change your financial future by going to heritagehiphop.com and clicking on the link for Transparent Credit Repair. Open your wallet to more income instead of paying out more debt by filling out the questionnaire and receiving 20% off of all services given by Transparent Credit Repair by going through Heritage Hip Hop. So once again, change your life and your financial future by going to heritagehiphop.com and clicking on the link for Transparent Credit Repair. On this episode of the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast, we chill from music, and I'll talk to one of my peers in the hip hop media lane. We are a special bunch of people because not only do we love the music, we love to converse and bring the real out of the artist to you, the listener, to know that they're more than musicians or more than people who talk over music, that they're real people. And I have my brother from Brick City on with me today, Knowledge Born Allah. Shout out to the 5% Nation of Gods and Earths on this one. And shout out to Jersey, because our story needs to be told. And this brother not only has a great platform on YouTube called Do The Knowledge Radio, but he really talks to the feeling of what hip hop is and who we are as hip hop people. So I don't want to talk too long. I want you to pay attention to this interview and listen to the jewels drop, because this was a good one. And salute to my brother, because I hope to do more work with him soon if the Most High allows. And before we go into that, I want to say rest in peace to my brother Arnold J. Bell, who passed away. May the Most High open his arms and take your spirit in and hug you and hold you in everlasting life. With that being said, I'll be back with the rest of my commentary after the interview. Peace and blessings, and welcome back to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast, where we introduce you to your future favorite artists today. And being that Heritage Hip Hop is more than music, sometimes you got to step back from music. And I have to talk to my peers that are journalists. And I have one on the line tonight. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Greetings, family. This is Knowledge Born Allah of Do Knowledge Radio. Here, happy to be an honored guest on Heritage Hip Hop. This is the place where true hip hop lives, man. Jersey in the building, Brick City, stand up. What's good?
Hey, man, I appreciate you. You from the Bricks?
Avon the 21st.
Wow. Yeah, you close. You real close, because we celebrate hip hop from Jersey across the world, you know?
Right.
And being that you from the Bricks, I have a lot of questions to ask you about, not only of the power of hip hop, but the knowledge of it as well. Tell me about your name and how you got it.
Well, shout out to Meth and Belly. He made me famous. You understand what I'm saying? You know, Power was the infamous character in Belly, so, you know, I had to deal with Knowledge Born. What's the science, you know, for most of my adult years. But it came from, you know, actually going through the Nation of Gods and Earths. And when I got Knowledge itself, when I was done, about 7 years later, I received the name. So it was a part of that journey, you know, gaining knowledge itself, you know, getting a student to that particular culture, that particular path and way of life. You know, after taking some people through that rites of passage, I received this name, Knowledge Born Allah. That's where it comes from.
Facts. Salute to you. I did a show on Heritage Hip Hop recently. If you have never seen it, I'll send you the link. It's called The Mic Council, which is a part of Heritage Hip Hop. It's like a talk show. And I talked to 5%ers from around the world. And I asked them, do the 120 lessons still matter in hip hop today? What do you think about that question? How would you answer that?
I think the relevance of Islam as a whole, whether you're dealing with the religion or the science, is very relevant in hip hop. for many of us, that was our introduction into, our particular culture. So whether you're looking at it from the Islamic perspective of black people in America, you're looking at the influence of like Lakim Shabazz and those brothers who came through the Nation of Islam, or if you look at Poor Righteous Teachers, Brand Nubians, and those who had their walk, and Wu-Tang and so many others who had that walk through 120 degrees, I think it's foundational. There's terminologies that are used as hip-hop slang, and many don't know their origins and roots have, branches in, Islam, whether it's the religion or the science. So I think 120 degrees, supreme mathematics and supreme alphabets, the things that were left, as a blessing for us, is still very relevant. And I think more now than ever when people are looking. So when you see, just for instance, Wu-Tang, the American Saga and things like that, as they peel back the layers and having those understandings in that, pivotal scene with Just Ice and, RZA about today's mathematics, I think that kind of set off a spark in the fire for many people wanting to know, like, what were they talking about? Or even, brothers and sisters who have went this path before us, even coming back in retrospect, like, man, I need to brush up on my lessons. I need to go back to my foundation, or as we call it within our culture, renewing our history. So I think with that and, the Wu-Tang, street in Staten Island and, Allah and Justice in Harlem with those street signs, I think it was an invigorating process to re-spark that search or that quest to know oneself. So in the short manner, I believe it's still relevant, and I think there should be more advocates out here being made available to, do your duty as a civilized person, which is to teach those who don't know who need to know, and that's all the human families of planet Earth.
Salute. I believe the same thing, because I believe the way hip-hop blew up in the 90s, the 5% Nation of Gods of Earth went so hand in hand with it that it was synonymous to hip-hop itself. Let's do some history. We had Grandmaster Caz in them, and hip-hop was born out of pain, and it will rise to Caz, and then it brought rise to the message. You see what I'm saying? And even as it went on, the Nation of Gods and Earth came, and then out of them came the Black Watch movement. The Black Panthers started getting into hip-hop. The Nation of Islam got into hip-hop. And it was such a movement that knowledge, freedom, refinement, education, wisdom, understanding, intelligence, and edutainment was the bar in which hip-hop was set for the community that helped the civilize the uncivilized and bring the 85 into the knowledge of the 5, correct?
I mean, it's there. So it depends on when you got it and how you got it and where you got it from. So is the same, with the information. Where and how and who you got hip hop from was your acculturation or, your through line into the culture. So if you got it from your older brothers and sisters or wherever you got it and however you found it, is how you preserve it. So if you didn't have to do anything for it, it won't mean nothing to you. So it's the same thing with coming in this particular culture in all pathways. If you labor for it, you're preserving in a way versus with the other things. So what we will see happen is this, resurgence from the 70s into the 90s with, militancy, a strong stance and, an idea and recognition of who you are, where you come from, and aspects of the cultures. You see what I'm saying? Because we're not monolithic. We're not, one particular way. But one way that's universal is that we seek to learn who we are. When we lose our way, we always look back. You see what I'm saying? So, you would see the Black Watch movement, that will come with a liberation flag, that will come with Africa medallions, that will come with unks and things like that. because it comes from a certain subset of the society, is that was their culture. You see what I'm saying? So you would see Public Enemy in them with the SW1s. They were heavily influenced by the Nation of Islam. They were working with Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So they were a culture-rated hip-hop, 88, 89, in that place where it looked sharp, it looked crisp, it looked militant. And, before that time, you had, Rakim, after, the resurgence of LL Cool J's time, that was still kind of like the era of the party time to, it became about MCing and lyrics, and you had to say something. You see what I'm saying? So you got Big Daddy Kane and everybody all in that wave of lyricism. It's not just party raps. You have to really, really pay attention to what you're saying, and your pen had to express a certain kind of message, which was foundational from the message, that was given to us by Melly Mel. And, my lane and your lane comes in reporting in the same way that MCs used to report. You see what I'm saying? They didn't know what it was like growing up, where we came from, and how we had to come up. So they relied on the rappers to tell the story. So this was the story. This was our message. This was our hurt and our pain. And for those who couldn't do what the MCs did, they spray painted it on the wall. Somebody's going to hear what we have to say. You see what I'm saying? And those who didn't do that, they danced a certain kind of way. They moved and contorted their bodies and their muscles to, convey their message in their language. And the other ones was on the wheels of steel. So they used that etheric sound on the breakbeats to be able to convey their message and who they were. So you put all of that together, that's a whole culture that, includes every genre before it in one way, shape, or form that we would see as hip-hop came into being.
You broke that down eloquently, so I have a question for you. A culture is defined by its man, woman, God, and lessons. What's the highest elevation of hip-hop? Is it knowledge of God or the life of the godly?
I think they're intertwined. I think you can't, say one without the other one, because one is a foundation and the other is its cultural expression. So if you're talking about man and woman come together to bring into existence the best part of themselves, the highest elevation of their creation. So this is God manifestation. And hip hop, in its essence is that it's every genre that came before it, by way of sampling, by way of homage, by way of collaboration. You could see, Nelly with Country Grammar. You see what I'm saying? You could see Run DMC with Aerosmith. You could hear the Isleys with Biggie, with Ice Cube. So it's that, best part. It's all of everything coming together in one. You see what I'm saying? So that's understanding. And when you're dealing with understanding, is to see things for what they are, not for what they appear to be. So looking back and going forward, the greatest time of every time is the present. So just like, seeing that child come out of that birth canal, you see what I'm saying? You're dealing with the best part. So the poor part didn't matter. The journey that it took to make it, it's there. The best part is right there. It's preserved. You're looking at it, and it gives you, a kind of way to continue to move. So from its foundation to its manifestation, I think they're intertwined. Too intertwined to try to separate.
Intertwining means all things go together. But we live in a world full of division, and we live in a world full of substance. And when you find substance and division, that's when you can find the common bond. You being a 5%er from Jersey holds a different understanding from being a 5%er in New York, because the environment also dictates how you learn and what you learn. What is the difference between that you've seen in the 5%ers? Not in belief, core belief, because y'all all study the 120 as it was told. But what is the core difference that you see in the understanding of the lessons with hip-hop influences in the different territories in which you've met them?
I think, again, it's cultural expression, how it's expressed based off of where it's expressed. The foundation is the same. We don't have different lessons. We don't have different supreme mathematics, supreme alphabets. And it's in people, how they got it, what they had to do to get it, just like I was saying before in reference to, your hip-hop introduction, your introduction into this culture. Who was your educator? Who was your enlightener? These are universal concepts that go back to African culture. So if you're dealing with someone from an African perspective as a young initiate, they had godparents, they had a godmother and a godfather. These are terms that we use in regards to our family dynamic, just as black people, period, without even understanding that it has a cultural root and significance. So everywhere that I've gone, whether it was overseas, whether it was in Mecca, wherever I went to in my travels, I found a cultural unifier, but then I found distinguishing things. Like out there in Los Angeles, or perspective, for instance, it's the LA version. You understand? I was in Washington State. It's the Washington State version, but you will find the dynamic of the cultural foundational roots nobody has gone away from. It's just their cultural expression out there. You see what I'm saying? So if you get me and you get Planet Asia, you're going to hear Planet Asia build from his perspective, and you're going to hear me build from my perspective, and ours are going to meet. They're not going to clash. You see what I'm saying? So that's a point of doing the knowledge. Like, that's the point of the radio station's name. You look, listen, observe, and most of all, respect. We don't have to agree on everything, but I can respect his perspective. He can respect mine. That's where the unification comes in. And what we divide is that which does not apply. You see what I'm saying? Because we don't allow divisions to come amongst the righteous. That's devilishment. That's the poor part. So these are things that is significant. Go ahead.
And that's what I like about your platform, because I did my history on Do the Knowledge Radio, and I was looking and listening to some of the stuff and how you have it set up. And the one thing I got to give you credit for is the fact that you don't make it about your perspective. You allow the guest to be, rather than you introduce them. You let them introduce themselves. You know what I'm saying? And right. I've heard many times, knowledge is born, not given. Is that correct?
Knowledge is born at its foundation, but also things are given. So let me explain it for a second. Your children, if you have children, your children come to the planet with everything that you know, and that woman that you're with, along with your ancestral genetics on both sides. This is why it's called the best part. So oftentimes our children come for confirmation and not information. You see what I'm saying? So, given in that perspective is from the perspective that we give them confirmation. We don't give them information. Even though they ask us a bunch of questions, oftentimes that's a trust pattern that goes with the psychological development to see if we're going to tell them a lie. You see what I'm saying? So, you'd be arguing with a sister's not going to ask you a question she don't already know the answer to. Right. So that is there, in your child. You see what I'm saying? And you and the other, provide the clear guidance and the example. So that's already in your child. So they're asking questions based off what they know, and then they're watching, you and your queen interact, so they know how to come to mommy and know how to come to daddy. They don't come to both of you the same, because this is your best part. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, you're born with knowledge. You're given confirmation of said knowledge. So that goes from, knowledge to wisdom, because wisdom is wise words and ways in action. So it's a coupling.
Word. That's why I say that our understanding of self goes deeper than what is taught. That's why we have the intuition. And our culture has been attacked on the intuition as well as the knowledge. How do we protect the intuition to gain more knowledge in your opinion?
Well, we're born intuitive, the same way. That's another knowledge. That's a knowledge from our ancestral sojourn, because we've been here more than one time. So this is the manifestation of God. That's what I was saying earlier about these things being intertwined, to not separate them. Because you've been here on countless occasions. You've always been here. So even when you return to the essence, you come back. So just like that movie, The Matrix, in part 2, they were dealing with that. You see what I'm saying? They were dealing with that aspect. Like, Neo thought he was something special. This is why he had all these questions. So why didn't you tell me it was people before me and da-da-da and this and this? Like, he wasn't important. His job wasn't important. You see what I'm saying? So he failed to realize the significance of what the function of the one is. You see what I'm saying? So the one is the collective, everybody doing what they're supposed to do in order to power that collective to move forward. And once that job is done, so are you. You see what I'm saying? So, people come to the planet for a particular purpose, and when that purpose is done, they go back to the essence from which they came for the next round. You see what I'm saying? So this is, the same thing they say in science. Matter is neither created or destroyed, simply changes form. So you go from one form to the next form. You don't know when you came, you don't know when you leave. You see what I'm saying? And in between, you're at the waiting period, like they showed the other part in the Matrix where you're sitting at the train station trying to get on the train. You see what I'm saying? To be able to go where you need to go. So these are all, perspectives in which you're there. So you can feel something or you can think something and it manifests. You be like, yo, I ain't talked to such and such in a long time, and then such and such call you. You see what I'm saying? So, and you can read somebody's vibrational tone and be like, I'm not messing with you. You see what I'm saying? Like, nah, something off about Duke right there. Nah, something off about this right there. Nah, I'm good. We good. You see what I'm saying? So, trusting that intuitive nature is your first thought, because we've seen it backfire. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, man, I knew I should have left. You see what I'm saying? And then, or, on the app, I'm like, yo, I'm out. Cass is like, yo, when you leave, I'm leaving, because every time you leave, you see what I'm saying? When you leave the block, like, stuff go haywire. Like, so I'm leaving when you leave. You see what I'm saying? Like, so trusting that intuition, and every time you get a sense about something that ain't right, the more you trust it, the more you'll become aware of it. You see what I'm saying? Consciously or unconsciously, and you'll begin to move with it instead of moving against it. Like, nah, bump that, I'm out here, I'm holding it down, da-da-da-da-da, and you're going to hold it down in some bracelets. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so just being mindful of what you said. Now I'm holding it down, I'm out here, son, blah, 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 I'm outside, we outside, da-da-da-da-da. He's like, yo, cat came through here shooting up, blah, blah, and you ain't have to be out there. It's a reason why you got that feeling, what Spider-Man called it, the Spidey sense, like, yo, your joints is you tingling, like, that phone truck been out here all day. You know what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we ain't got to get to that. You know what I mean? But when you don't trust it, you're like, nah, they just working on the phone line thing. Next thing you know, it ain't a phone truck at all. It's them boys. You see what I'm saying? So when you study that, that's how you harness that power, and also trusting the instincts and the intuition of those around you, especially, sisters and children. They don't play. Old people, women, and children don't play. They don't play. So if you watch your seeds and, whoever come around you and your seeds be like, they start crying, they start acting crazy, they don't want to see them, they don't want to go nowhere near them, you better exit those cats. You understand? Same thing with the queen on point. She lived there. We might visit there. She lives there in the intuition realm. You see what I'm saying? Same thing with old people. They don't have that, I'm trying to make it no more. They done already made it. They made it to be old, and they ain't made it to be old by being no fool. You understand what I'm saying? So these are all life lessons in regards to that development and harnessing that power in regards to that trust, that intuition.
Word. No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun.
That's real.
And what you basically said was all that. It was summed up in all that in that one line. That to be before means you can be again. And understanding that the most beautiful woman ever talked about in the Bible was wisdom. Being that we're from the hip hop generation, I truly believe hip hop is not our music. It's how we live. And I think that's more present in the Bible and Torah and Quran than we give it acknowledgement or even respect. The Bible taught knowledge itself from the earliest lessons I ever learned. Where did you first get introduced to the knowledge of self and then to recognize yourself within that knowledge?
I mean, from my mother and father, those were my first teachers. So, I came in the Islamic paradigm, but we didn't do anything from an obligatory standpoint. We did it from a study perspective. So all of my life lessons in regards to what I studied and what I gravitated to, we did it in the house first. You see what I'm saying? I was born an Arabic-speaking Muslim that went to church, that did Buddhist chants, all of that. So there was nothing that was, in the Arabic language we call wajib or obligatory on me other than learning. And whatever you wanted to learn, whatever you wanted to try out, whatever, we did it as a family. And whatever you agreed with within your spirit or you gravitated towards, that's what you stay with. I have 6 other brothers and sisters. Everybody, deals with their own belief system when they walk in their path. And we respect each other. You see what I'm saying? Now it's just to look, listen, observe, and most of all respect. So reading the Bible and the Quran, I would never say anything ill about either one of those books, because there's a lesson that said who wrote it. You can hear where you come from and who you are and how your people talk. You see what I'm saying? You can hear grandma say ain't nothing new under the sun, just like you said. You see what I'm saying? That's Ecclesiastes. You see what I'm saying? So there's not an instance where you can go to look and find yourself in yourself if you're looking for self, if you know what to look for in self. So that's the best part that we think is great, and that's the other part where we're here to correct. So we don't have it all on purpose because we're here to find it out. So foundationally, I found it at home in the love and the care and the patience and the time in my development was my foundation to be able to recognize and receive knowledge of when it came to me. You see what I'm saying? Based off of whatever school. But I had went through all of the schools before that. You see what I'm saying? The knowledge of self in this one is like one of the last things that I did. I did everything else before it.
With that understanding of self, you have a platform where you celebrate the self and other people's knowledge of giving their messages as well. What part of your personality did you want your platform to take on so that not only was it genuine to you, but it helped elevate the culture as well?
The aspect of celebration. We since Puffy and them came out with, haters and hate, what he got a PhD, player hate degree, everything was hater. You know what I'm saying? They even had the little remix of the song, Player Hater, you see what I'm saying? All of that, what happened to the love? Even on the last joint, let's start love over. You see what I'm saying? Like that joint right there, it was celebration, it was love, it was upliftment in a blood sport, because hip hop in regards to MCs, it's a blood sport. You got, Mob said it ain't rap, it's blood sport. Your lifestyle short, cut short. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that means your hip hop life or your relevance or your career or your actual life, because we know these young cats out here, they dropping like flies in regards to, hip hop. This is something that was celebrated in culture and love. Now it's another gladiator blood sport, Kumite fight to the death type situation. So looking at all of that and then looking at the spheres of influence in regards to media, I wanted to be able to celebrate our people. I wanted them to be able to come to a place where they can be who they are, they can teach their information and knowledge and skills and abilities and be celebrated and be uplifted. And also look at some of the cultural icons from yesterday and celebrate them as well, along with people that are known and unknown, because we have a duty and responsibility to our ancestors, elders, peer group, and youth. So all of this was a culminating factor that's centered around celebration, because everybody got a story. You see what I'm saying? You got a story, your platform got a story, all of that. So you create a space and carve out a lane for celebration. So that's the aspect of the personality that I wanted to tap into, celebration.
I love how you said everybody telling a story, because if we don't control our own narrative, somebody will take our story and bastardize it and tell who we aren't instead of who we are. I don't know if you've seen recently, but this is stuff we've already known for years, but I guess it's news now, that Black History Month and the history of slavery in America has been taught differently, not only on this continent, but others, and also in different regions of this continent as well. That different history books say different things. And then studies have shown that what we know as the history of people of color coming to this country and being in this country was made up by people who are not even from our community or culture. We see that happening even today with platforms like Vlad TV and other people who are labeled as culture vultures. What is the most important part of our story that we need to preserve so it is passed down as a legacy and not just given and people could do what they want with it?
Well, the Bible says charity begins at home, and the greatest charity that you can give your seeds is their identity, so they don't have to look for an identity crisis or a validator outside of that. So these are oral traditions that are passed down from generation to generation. You can go back to the continent if that's where you have your roots, or you can look here. These stories, you see what I'm saying? So your birth story, your name story. You ask me, okay, how did you get that name? There's a story. You see what I'm saying? Your birth story. There's a birth story. You see what I'm saying? Tell your children about, what their birth story was like, what the labor was like, all of that, because all of this becomes a part of their identity and psyche. So if it becomes ingrained, if you're able to look back that far in your history, in your story, that's the part you need to preserve, because it deals with self-esteem, it deals with self-awareness, and it eliminates the ability of peer pressure, not totally and completely, but 90%, I would say, to want to have to belong to something, someplace, somewhere, and all of these things, and no outside influence can do harm if the inside is intact. Like Dr. Satan said, disease can't live inside of an alkaline body. So neither can it live inside of an alkaline mind. I mean, a mind that is refined and in tune with their cultural narrative. You see what I'm saying? Your language, your ways and actions, your culture, your folklore, your morals, your norms, whatever that is for your family, keep that preserved. Whatever that language is and how do you communicate with your family, that's sacred. That's not something to share with something outside of your family. You see what I'm saying? Like, we grew up with Puerto Ricans and they were speaking Spanish, and they used to be like, my bad. I'm like, nah, that's your language. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that is your mother tongue. So you speak what you need, how you need to communicate, and how you need to move with your family. And I'm going to do the same thing with mine. I'm not going to ask you what you're talking about. Don't think I'm ever going to tell you what we're talking about over here. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a sacred thing that you can keep in line with your language, with your family, and how y'all move as a family. You see what I'm saying? And I think that if we keep those parts sacred, who we are, how we worship, all these other things, and how we move as a family, I think that's the most sacred part, because once that infiltration is there, everything and anything is up for grabs, as we see. So this is, the vultures pick on the dying, not the dead. So they come around and they circle around and wait till you're dying, because once you're dead, they can no longer feed off of you. You still have to have some semblance to life. And we find ourselves in a dying state, not a dead state, but a dying state for people to pick at our flesh. You see what I'm saying? Because it's good for consumption and good to eat.
This is Karev with Knowledge Born Allah of Do the Knowledge Radio, which is on your favorite streaming platforms right now. And I ask you to make sure you check out his platform as we continue this interview. One thing I want to ask you is, a good interview is not an interview where you ask questions. How do you define a good interview?
Well, I think there's an aspect to getting the best out of the person that you're conversing with. Mm-hmm. That best part. So I deal with a lot of people who do a lot of amazing things. And when you talk to them before you get started, they're like, yo, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to do. I ain't never did an interview before. What you going to ask me? All of those things. You put all of those things at ease when you tell them, look, today is your holiday. Today we're celebrating you. You know, it's okay. And we come from, you know, a real tight-lipped culture to where celebration also looks like you're being braggadocious. You see what I'm saying? Or you showing off, or you trying to, you know, you doing the most, like, you know, like we say. You see what I'm saying? Instead of being in the space of celebration, I am so happy that you provide this product or this service. Tell me about it. Tell me the story. What happened? So these questions are not interrogation questions. These are things where someone is showing a genuine interest on what you do. So, you know, 90% of what you do, your product, your service, your knowledge base, your skills, your talents, is you. People, they're interested in you. 10% is what you provide. So they want to know about you and then what you provide. Because if they can believe you, if you can be sincere about you, they're more likely, 9 times out of 10, to look into your product or your service. But if you out here jacklegging, you know, faking jacks and fronting and all that other stuff, they don't care what you got. You know, it could cure anything. They don't want it because they looked at you and was like, nah, something off about sis. Nah, I'm gonna keep it moving. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're in a space where you create a great dialogue and it just flows, I think these are the best, you know, interviews.
I was taught that an interview is not about what you ask, it's about what you learn. Tell me some of the most important things you learned through your interviews that made you not only a better interviewer, but made you a better man from the interview that you did.
Some of the people that I sat with, their life experiences, their journeys. You see what I'm saying? Because I asked them about takeaways from their journey. You know, for me, to sum it up, the mission is more important than the moment. It could be a good moment or a bad moment or indifferent. But whatever your goal is more important than the moment. Because you could get caught in the moment and stay there. It could be a good moment. It could be a bad moment. You could be like, yo, son, I'm done with this. I ain't doing no more interviews, nothing. Blah, blah, blah. I quit, man. It's a wrap. Or you can take that moment to learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn that's calling your attention to it and say, okay, I'm going to move on from here. If Michael Jordan would have said, I'm good in high school or in junior high, we wouldn't have known nothing about no Michael Jordan. You see what I'm saying? So him being cut, when he got cut, he went and worked as hard as he possibly could. So he brought that work ethic, thinking that this is what it took for him to be successful. And then he was surrounded by people who were more talented, but ain't nobody work harder than him. You see what I'm saying? So his work ethic is something that propelled a team that was okay to a team that created a dynasty, created a new normal in regards to how you're going to move. So if he looked at his situation, if he got caught in that moment, he wouldn't have been able to do his mission. You see what I'm saying? So I took that from a lot of the instances from a lot of people that I sat with. They did not allow the moment or the moments with an S to erode them or deter them from their mission. And they continue on in their mission, and they have helped so many people along the way, and now those people have a clear and defined purpose and mission. based off of those interactions.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. I was told that man gets a job, but God gives man his work. How does purpose figure into that? And what do you say?
I love it. I love it. Yeah, God gives a man work. You understand what I'm saying? That's a different kind of thing. Like a job has a beginning and an ending. You work until, your mission is complete. But on the process of that path of you working, you can see the beginning, so-called, but you can't see the end. Your work continues long after you are gone. Your job ends when you get terminated or you quit or you retire. You see what I'm saying? So that work stops with you. It's limited. I mean, that job stops with you. It's limited. That work continues forever. It's immortal. We're celebrating, Malcolm X on May 19th. Malcolm X departed from our physical sight February 21st, 1965. His work continues. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at that in essence, if you put in the work that you're supposed to put in, that God put on you to do, that work will continue long after you depart from the physical sight. You see what I'm saying? So that is, that purpose. In the garden, it said man was not created but to till the ground. So if you look at that from the physical perspective, that's the greatest job in the universe because this is where your food comes from. You see what I'm saying? And you look at it in another essence, tilling the ground or tilling the earth, that fertile soil is where you plant your seed. This is where your seeds come from. You see what I'm saying? So, shout out to Dr. Miles Monroe, peace and blessings be upon him. He said within the seed, therein contained is the forest. You see what I'm saying? Because within the seeds, there are seeds within the seeds. So as the people, we come from generations and generations of people that came before us, from seed to seed. So within the seed that you plant, you're planting generations to come, future generations to come from your seeds. You see what I'm saying? So in that same fashion of tilling the ground, working in your divine purpose, working in your divine order, that work that you were created to do, that you are called to do, is something that outlasts and outlives you. And if you did it right, someone else picks up that mantle and continues on your work.
So as you put your work into Do the Knowledge Radio, how have you seen the fruit be born from your work? And how has it inspired you to continue to grow it into a brand and a movement as well?
Well, beginning with that mandate, like we started to, as a place, as a safe haven, for black people to celebrate themselves, to come teach their knowledge, skills, and abilities. Because, brother, if it was about me, we'd have had 2 episodes, and that'd have been that. You see what I'm saying? You go onto some of these platforms, and it's it's host centered. It's about the host and the host antics, and all of that. Shout out to Charlemagne the God. I couldn't carry that kind of weight. You understand what I'm saying? It's a shared experience. When you have a guest that comes on, it's about the guest. It's about the audience. I was on Blog Talk Radio for 5 years, and there were plenty of people who came that called in for the guest, and they became guests themselves, and also they became hosts themselves. So I opened up my platform to a bunch of people, for people to be able to express themselves in a way, in their niche. So there's a sister that comes on to teach about insurance. There's a brother that comes on to teach about survival. There's people that come on that talk about African spirituality, and all of these gamuts that are there, they're all connected one way or another, and the common unifier is through Knowledge Radio. So the brand that itself, the idea and the intention to celebrate our people, to give them a safe space, this is where the people came from. You see what I'm saying? So this is why the slogan is a place where knowledge is born. You see what I'm saying? It's my name, but it's also what I do. So if you look at the Smiths in the Matrix, he was a Smith and he was doing what a Smith does. You see what I'm saying? In regards to, working with the metal. So his work outlasted him just like the neophyte's work outlasted him. You see what I'm saying? So we can look at those experiences, and when it came together, it was man sharp as man, steel sharp as steel, and they saw the manifestation of both. It took steel for them to be able to fight the Sentinels. You see what I'm saying? And to build the place and the dwelling where they dwelled at, but it was also steel that came to destroy the same place that they built. So it's man sharp as man and steel sharp as steel. So they became adaptable with each other. And as you grow along in this process, you begin this wrestling and fighting with yourself, and then you come out on the other side refined. If you go through that refinement process, we would call it love, hell, or right. You see what I'm saying? You would have enough love for self to go through hell or purification to come out right on the other end. Because some folks get stuck and trapped in their own hell. Hence, the mission is more important than the moment. That moment might be hell. You see what I'm saying? But your mission isn't complete, so you continue on and you fight through that agony and that burnout and, the sacrifice and all of that, because on the other side of it is success. On the other side of it is elevation. On the other side of it is things you could never even fathom starting out. People, places, opportunities for other people, community, all kinds of stuff came from something that was a determined idea that was in your mind that you had the heart enough to make manifest in the physical world. Because born is to bring into existence either physically or mentally. I'm thankful to our Creator to be able to have manifested both mentally and physically.
You know what? I think we're going to stop right there, because that, I think, was the goal of talking to you, and you gave the work and the purpose of your platform. But we're not done yet. Give everybody your social media, because I know my audience loves what you're saying, because we are an enlightened bunch that doesn't believe in just beats and rhymes. We believe in the heart and the story of the person so we can connect. So tell them how to connect with you and how they can get more lessons from you as well.
Well, I wanted to thank you and shout out to Heritage Hip Hop, man. Support this station. This is a staple. It's not a lot of stations that's out here that's giving a platform for brothers and sisters, for creators, from the legends to the hood legends. You see what I'm saying? This is how hip hop began. People were rapping because they wanted the support and the love in their neighborhood. Now you can't get the support and love in your neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? Because those sentiments have changed. So, a place where you keep it in its text and you keep, the narrative of celebration alive right here in Heritage Hip Hop, man. Shout out to everybody here. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here, and shout out to MJ for hooking us up. I can be found on Instagram on 2 pages. My business page is Do the Knowledge Radio. That's DOTHAKNOWLEDGERADIO, and also at Knowledge Phone Alive 357. You want to hear your stories? Want to collaborate with you? We're doing some great things. So check us out over there. Follow us on IG. We have 2 hub sites: www.dothenowledgeradio.com and our youth site. We're working with at-risk youth from the ages of 7 to 18, dtgempoweryou.com. Check us out over there. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you want to get at me, either use those DMs or you can email me at dothenowledgeradio@gmail.com. Once again, thank you. Shout out to Heritage Hip Hop. Shout out to you, my brother. Keep on doing what you're doing, and let's continue to win together.
Word, because I'm going to be on your show. We're going to make that happen as soon as this interview's over, everybody. You can look for me on Do the Knowledge Radio very soon.
Yeah, yo.
Now, before we get out of here, I usually do something called the rapid fire questions. You're not an artist, but you have knowledge on certain things that I think needs to be shown. And I want to take your journalistic eye and put it into the reporter eye. You ready to do that?
Let's go.
All right, so here's my first question. You're from Brick City. And Brick City hip hop is some of the most barred lyrical hip hop that everybody measures themselves up against when they come into the New Jersey territory. Who was the MC from the Bricks that made you see that hip hop was bigger than what was on the radio or on TV?
Is it one?
You tell me.
You looking for one, or are you looking for a few?
Give me 5 if you have that many.
Okay. Thank you. I got Redman.
Mm-hmm.
I got Rod Digger.
Mm-hmm.
I got Do It All from Lords of the Underground.
Mm-hmm.
I got Trash from Naughty by Nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I got, what's my man's name? From the Rotten Rascals. My Love Child. Rock.
Yeah, Rock.
Yeah.
Okay. How did they all embody Brick City, Essex County hip hop? And what did the game not have that made them so attractive to your ear?
Redman was a DJ. You know what I'm saying? Redman went from a DJ to a crazy lyrical, up one way, down the other way, knee slapping, joking, mind thinking MC. You understand what I'm saying? And it's like a Jersey heritage. So when I'm saying them 5, I'm including, you know, Queen Latifah. I'm including Lauryn Hill. You understand what I'm saying? I'm including the artifacts. I'm including the New Jersey hip hop, because that's Jersey hip hop is a culture that's very tight knit. You see what I'm saying? And these representatives always stay true to home, no matter what. You see what I'm saying? No matter where they went to and did whatever. Digger was a 13 Ghost. You understand? And she was like, forget this. I'm on the first plane back to Newark. Like, she didn't have to say that. You understand what I'm saying? But she made sure she said that in this Ghost movie. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's a thing that's there, that's in the air, that's in the old. You see what I'm saying? So whether we talking about Heather B or whoever, that it's Jersey. The Fugees, it's Jersey. You see what I'm saying? Like, you hear it, it's Jersey, and it's our, you know, small fish in a big pond of hip hop. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, it's so interwoven like that. And they had the sights and the sounds. It smelled like home. To see Tretch with the youngsters from Philly. You understand what I'm saying? Like, to see Tretch with Illegal, you know, like all of those things. And then you get Naughty by Nature with all of these albums. You know, you hear Hip Hop Parade. Come on, like, anywhere you at, I done been around the world. Anywhere you at, you hear, whether they speak English or they don't speak English. When Hip Hop Parade come on, everybody, oh, hey, oh, you see what I'm saying? Like, like that's a universal language, and it begin with some cats from, you know, Irvington, you know, 21st Street, I mean, like, or, you know, 15th Ave or 4th Ave, wherever you see what I'm saying? You just pointing to places, you know, Weekway section, Hooterville section, these avenues that you had to navigate in those times, this is what came out of that. You see what I'm saying? Hakeem Green, Channel Live. You see what I'm saying? That's the outsiders. You ain't got no Eminem without the outsiders. You see what I'm saying? Like when Tret said, Zoo Crew homies is the craziest. If you from here and you don't know who the Zoo Crew is, you understand? Like, you might have been too young, but if you in the age bracket and you don't know who that is, you understand? Like, that was something serious. So all of these things come from that, and everybody still, you know, kind of tapped into their roots. Like, Do It All could have left a long time ago. Do It All still right there in the hood. He running for office, all kind of stuff. You know, the anti-violence movements, all these other things that spawned out of somebody picking up a pad and a pen to write. That's the fruits of the labor on the other side. on every level.
Fact. My next question to you is this. We live in the digital age where knowledge and information is key to survival. So what weapon is more deadlier, the pen or the microphone?
If the pen is mightier than the sword, then I would say that the microphone is more deadlier than the pen nowadays. I think the pen has a time where there was time that's tested. You should tried and true. But this microphone has become very, very, very dangerous. You see what I'm saying? You look at the presidential election, with former President Trump, a microphone gave him a shockwave all around the universe. You understand what I'm saying? It made a slogan. You see him based off of something he said when the microphone, he thought the microphone was off. You see what I'm saying? Like, so this is all kind of stuff to where you see how this microphone, the situation with Jesse Jackson and them talking about Barack Obama, they thought the microphone was off. You see what I'm saying? So you see these instances where the microphone is on, and even when the microphone is off, we know that somebody listening. You understand what I'm saying? So I think the microphone has a weightier significance. Cass is getting football numbers off of what they said on lives and what they was doing on lives. You see what I'm saying? So it goes hand in hand with that microphone situation.
Okay. With the world changing and hip-hop being lost to sexualism, drug addiction, and murder of consciousness, how does hip-hop protect itself rather than just entertain its death?
I didn't hear the last part of the question, pardon.
Okay. With sex, drugs, murder becoming what the staple of hip-hop is becoming on a world level due to industry, how does hip-hop protect itself against it so it doesn't die?
We protect it. We are progenitors of the culture. So if this is our culture and we want to maintain our cultural narrative, we support those artists and their artistry that support our cultural narratives. So we decide, what's hot and not the industry. The industry will morph itself like those sentinels. If this approach didn't work, they'll try another approach. Because when we said Public Enemy and them was good and was hot and this is what they was doing, the consumerists and the capitalists figured out a way to market that to us. You see what I'm saying? So it was an adaptation to where, rap looked like a phase that they said wasn't going to last 10 years to, I know you remember the commercial, the dude came in and rapped the whole McDonald's menu for his order. You see what I'm saying? Now you see this young generation, you got people that are still doing that. They didn't go to no classes for that. It was like, you're going to go do this. So it's in us. All you need is the proper, guidance to cultivate it. Because, everything goes through an ignorant tide. The tide, it ebbs and it flows. You see what I'm saying? You got high tide and you got low tide. So in the low tide, it's preparation for the high tide to come. So if this high tide is coming and it's going to be abundant hip hop that we love, we have to control it. You see what I'm saying? We have to draw it up and define Mr. Wister-Necker-Alcoholic.tech. So when it distills back onto the planet in the forms of drops of water, drops of ice, it'll be something that's for our benefit, not for our detriment. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, facts. Let's continue that, because you said something that was very interesting, that was very key, and that was people that market it and putting money behind it. Check this out. The Bible says that we are the salt of the earth, and without us, the earth loses its flavor. And hip hop gave the world flavor in a way that they didn't even think the world needed. That's why I think supply and demand is bullshit. I don't believe to make money you have to supply a demand. I think you can make a demand and you can oversupply. And what hip hop did was it made a demand by giving people the opportunity to speak their truth from around the world where they were being hushed or being silenced by the mainstream media or the quote unquote norm. So my question to you is this, primarily with that understanding. Hip hop is going through a rebirth, but there are people who want to kill it and make it something that it's not. What is the truest form of hip hop? And how has it endured even from music to media today?
Well, shout out to people like Chris the Glove Taylor. He helped tailor and craft West Coast sound. You see what I'm saying? So the sound began it all. So the sound and the vibratory tone within the beat help people to move, and based off of the movements, the griots were able to tell the story of the movements. So the MC was birthed out of the DJ. The B-boy was birthed out of the DJ. You see what I'm saying? So those who had who had that cultural inclination to replicate what they saw in word, whether it was the written word or the graffiti can, they were painting their canvas based off of what they were feeling, seeing, and hearing. So that truest form began with the beat. The proof of life in your physical body is the rise and fall of your chest, your heartbeat, your pulse. You see what I'm saying? So going back to your pulse, going back to your heartbeat, returning to your galactic center, going back to your foundation. You see what I'm saying? Hip-hop was also birthed based out of the void of instrumentation. There was no instruments in the school. So naturally, people begin banging on the table. So it's back to the beat again. You see what I'm saying? And we march to the beat of our own drum. You see the brothers and the sisters? It's rhythm in the walk. It's rhythm in the talk. You see what I'm saying? Whether you on the microphone or not. So that rhythmic flow, that heartbeat, that's proof of an existence and a life. So if you cultivate, celebrate it, rate it in its truest essence, you can guide it in a certain kind of way. So I think we need to be better stewards of life and how we live our life and how we interact with one another and how we support one another. And we don't take nobody's BS. You understand what I'm saying? You're like, nah, you can't come over here with the bubblegum stuff. We're not feeling that over here. Go take it to the bubblegum factory where, you find plenty of people who want the bubblegum. So things have their place. And, just like the Bible says, everything has a season. You see what I'm saying? So we back to that again. We're dealing with these things in the season. So you plant and you get the crops for the time where it's plentiful. So when it's the famine time, you can still eat. You store up in your storehouses, like the scriptures say, for a time. So in that space where things are abundant and they're flowing, you're preparing for the time when it's not. So that's the difference between sight and vision. So back to the essence, that pure essence of hip hop, you can have a vision on how it's going to be, and you're going to use the talent, the gifts, and your bodily, limbs to ensure that it's going to come into existence, whether you can see it or not. Somebody will see it after you. Back to that work thing. You see what I'm saying? Your work will continue forever.
Okay. So I got two more questions and then we're going to finish this interview. Everybody, we thank you for joining us on the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast from my bro right here, because not only do we get jewels, we got insight. And as you know, insight is what makes hip hop alive. It's not just the beats, because guess what? If hip hop just was about beats, then we'd be jazz music still. The MC, the DJ opened up the door and the MC gave our ears something to be treated by to make the beat talk to us even further. And with that being said, I want to ask you this question. It's about Jersey, and then we're going to go into the last question. The first question I want to ask you is, if New York dominated the sound and LA dominated the visual, what did Jersey bring to the game that made its claim for hip hop?
Jersey brought to the game a myriad of things, but if I had to pick one, I would say the uncut version. It was uncut. You see what I'm saying? It's uncut. Like when you guys said, "Boy, I'm gonna give it to you with no trivia. We like cocaine straight from Bolivia." He was talking about his style. You see what I'm saying? This is his style right here. You see what I'm saying? Red said, "Matt, slaughter in alphabetical order for 4 quarters, 4 waters, sons, and granddaughters." You see what I'm saying? Like that. You know what I mean? Like that kind of, through line is something to where we at. You see what I'm saying? Like, and, if you need to be reminded, Tretch told the whole world we was the craziest. You understand what I'm saying? What video, they brave enough to start it off with a real stolen car in the joint. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is not, you see what I'm saying? So, this was it. Like, we was misfits. You see what I'm saying? We wasn't New York. We wasn't LA. We wasn't any of these other places. We was Jersey. So this is why you hear straight out of Jersey. You heard me? You see what I'm saying? Like, you just had to know. Brick City is how I get down, kid. Peace to all my booty smokers on print. Bump what you heard, Brick City run. You see what I'm saying? So it's that rawness that's there. I talked to Billy Dance from MLP, and he was like, "Yo, Jersey and Brooklyn?" I was like, that's the backyard from each other. You see what I'm saying? So we saw the same type of atrocities and suffering that they seen in that Brownsville section of Brooklyn. So it was a relatable type of situation. So when it came over to New York, it was down there at Symphony Hall. They said we was in some project. They just had us over there for like 3-4 days. We came in for a show, and these cats wouldn't let us leave. We was just with them. I got mad love for Jersey. You understand what I'm saying? Like, versus some other people that found out the hard way. Mobb Deep found out the hard way. The Lost Boys found out the hard way. You see what I'm saying? Like, some cats who didn't come over there on the love tip. They came on the other stuff. Are we good with that? Red did also say, God forbid you do a show in the bricks. You understand what I'm saying? So, we know that. So, our, push, it wasn't the same as everybody else's. And we had the ability to switch up styles. Like Red said, switching up speed like Bruce Lee riding the Fuji in the movie. If you ain't get that, laugh now, then figure that shit out when you get home. You understand what I'm saying? So his cadence, his flow, his tempo. Come on, you heard Tretch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even get into Wise, Intelligent, and any of those cats in South Jersey. I'm just like, this is just all ever so lightly. You see what I'm saying? So, a Jersey mark in the game was a chameleon. I say that in short.
Word. And with that being said, we come to the last question, which is the most important question of the first interview. So with that being said, I have an open door policy. If you ever want to come back on Heritage Hip Hop, you are more than invited. And as we continue to build and continue to grow, I feel the interviews get better and better. So with that being said, I want you to walk out on a high note. So my question to you is this, and this is the most important question of the first interview, which is, when they do the Jersey Media Hall of Fame, and they come to do the Knowledge Radio, and they look up your history, and they push that hologram and your story is being told, my most important question is, what is the legacy that you left behind that made the world better because you did hip-hop media?
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., peace and blessings be upon him, said he didn't want to be remembered for his accolades. He said he wanted to be remembered as somebody who tried to help somebody. So the legacy of Doing Knowledge Radio is a place where knowledge is born and where our people's gifts, talents, skills, and abilities are celebrated, uplifted, and supported.
And with that being said, everybody, elevate yourself by doing the knowledge and being in a place where knowledge is born. Because with birth comes life, and with life comes evidence of the living. Be alive in everything that you do and give the world your best, because that's what the Most High made you for. And with that being said, this is Karev of Heritage Hip Hop with my brother, Knowledge Born of Law of Do the Knowledge Radio. And we both say peace, and we out.
Peace.
Do the Knowledge Radio is available on all streaming platforms. But if you like to see your podcast, check them out on YouTube. Remember, it's DOTHA, the word knowledge, which you should know how to spell, radio. DTK Radio, with Knowledge Born Allah. Shout out to my brethren of Hip Hop Media from New Jersey, who covers all gamuts of hip hop. He did a show with my OG, Doggy Diamond, someone who I study in this game and deserves that respect and love. Great interviews with Billy Danz, a lot of people out there you respect. So check him out on YouTube. It's well worth the watch, you know? Shout out to the Nation of Gods and Earths especially. Check out that Heritage Hip Hop special, The Mic Council, with the 5%ers on YouTube and our channel as well. Heritage Hip Hop is available everywhere. So if you like this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating, like, comment, subscribe, and share. That's very important to building this platform. Follow us on YouTube, our own network, which is available at heritagehiphop.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and on BoomUit, BOOMUITT.com. We're verified and we're helping break artists. So if you have a song that you really want to push in a video, send us the link and let us put it on BoomUit. 350,000 views and you get considered for a single deal by Rampage of the Flipmo Squad and his new label. I'd like to give a shout out to everybody who makes this possible. Shout out to MJ's Hip Hop Connects, Fatty's Place, Transparent Credit Repair, Lex P, Firejaws, A Squad Rebel Radio, the Heat DJs and the Fleet DJs, and most importantly, you, the people who listen and support. Thank you for everything. If you want to buy some merch to support Heritage Hip Hop, go to storefrontier.com/Heritage Hip Hop. We got hoodies, tees, etc. If you want to donate, our Cash App is $Heritage Hip Hop. We are out there to support you, the hip hop culture. And it's a pleasure to bring this show to you. With that being said, please remember, we only go as far as you're willing to go with us. So give us a 5-star rating. Make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And with that being said, celebrate life. I lost a friend today, and I wish the game many more. And to give honor to my friend, I just like to say, may the Most High bless everybody out there in his eternal spirit. When I say peace, and we out.